Google, Facebook, YouTube, Silicon Valley.
Just a quick thought on the idea of capitalism, free market versus government control, on issues such as free speech and censorship, on entities like Google, Apple, YouTube, and the flow of information or the control of information. I think there's a problem with government controlling education and the flow of ideas and information. The government isn't there to control education or ideas or the flow of information. The government's job is to protect the rights of the people to have free speech, to have access and to equality, not to have an egalitarian finish, but to have the ability to be on equal footing from the beginning, to receive the same information, to receive fair and honest information, to have the ability to speak your mind freely, to express your ideas freely. The government is there to protect those rights, not to enforce them, not to create them, not to teach them, not to regulate them. The market, on the other hand, is there to give a vehicle to expression, to teaching, to competition of ideas and of resources to obtaining these ideas and information. That is the idea of the free market. Capitalism, to an extent, to where capital pays for it, and there could be a profit made on information and ideas, I suppose. It shouldn't be the overwhelming drive, particularly in education and the sharing of information, but I see the need for capital gain, obviously, from private companies. I get that. And when you support, when you support and give the vehicle the platform to share the information and the knowledge, sure, you deserve to, make what you deserve off of that. But that's neither here nor there. The ideas of someone like Google, though, on the free market, controlling the type of information that people have access to, or websites, web hosting sites, choosing who they can or who they think they should or shouldn't allow to have websites. This is a problem. There should be some sense of control or regulations when it comes to someone as large or as an important a service provider as, a server, a domain server. You shouldn't be able to tell someone they can't host a website because you disagree with their ideas. The same way a phone company shouldn't be allowed to tell, Richard Spencer that he's not allowed to have a phone because they disagree with his ideas. Say if somebody, the CEO of AT&T, agreed with Antifa and decided that anybody that they disagree with shouldn't have the rights to a telephone. That's suppression of freedom of rights, of freedom of speech. That's where the problem lies in this issue. Now, it's not the government's job to control this information, but it's the government's job to see that the citizens of its nation have those rights equally distributed amongst them, that their rights are protected, that they could, at their means, obtain this information, this ability to obtain this information. You aren't necessarily privy to having a phone. If you can afford a phone, you can buy a phone. If you can get the information anyway, you have the right to obtain the information. You don't have the right to have, you have the right to the ability to gain the tools to gain the information, but information is free. Public libraries exist, which, you know, now that branches off into whether that's government or civically funded. Now this should be on a local. Libraries should be locally funded, local community governments. That's why we pay taxes, or else we shouldn't pay taxes. That's what taxes should be used for, to fund services like libraries, information where poor people could still access information, or anybody. You don't have to be poor to go to the library, but I'm saying the poor people that can't afford, you know, maybe to get into an Ivy League school, although you should have that opportunity if you can prove that you are worthy, like, if not some idiot that's homeless should be able to go to Harvard just because they want to. But if you can prove that, you know, you're academically worthy, that you're smart enough to get through Harvard, I think you should have that option. You should have that ability one way or another, maybe through private funds, maybe some sort of government scholarship. That's a whole different argument for a whole different thing. This is about the free market and their role in disseminating information, and the government's role in protecting the rights of its citizens to have access freely to this information. In other words, Google doesn't have the right to control information. They might provide a service, but they don't own the information. They only control the service providing it, and they have to give everybody, because of their size, because of the size that they have and the influence that they have on society, they have to be treated like a phone company where they can't deny someone service because they disagree with them. There has to be some outrageous reason, like, you know, you're plotting to kill a high-powered person and somebody knows about this, or you're plotting to kill anybody for that matter and somebody knows about it. I mean, you have to be a true danger to society, a true danger, like one step away. You know, you're about to commit crime, not thought crimes, not because you think something different that someone else perceives as dangerous, perceives as an aggression, because they disagree with an ideology or somewhat, or because someone, for lack of a better word, LARPs onto, say, some Nazi symbology or some National Socialism. Someone may truly think that the ideas of National Socialism as an ideology are positive. And if they truly think that, it doesn't mean that they want genocide on the world, and someone that disagrees with them doesn't have the right to physically attack them. They don't even have the right to stop their speech. That's just not how free speech and a free society works. Now, you can be wary of that person, you can watch that person, you can protect yourself from that person if that person physically attempts to do something to you, but you can't preemptively strike them because you think that their ideas are dangerous. Just like Google shouldn't be able to, well, less Google with this, but YouTube shouldn't be able to shut, who Google owns, shouldn't be able to shut you down because they don't like your message. Now, I also get the fact that private companies can make this decision, but if you're going to allow Google to do that, then you can't rightfully expect a Christian to bake a cake for a homosexual wedding if they disagree. Right? You can't tell Google, well, you're allowed to take down alt-right videos because someone thinks they're violent, but then you have to force mom and pop bakery to bake a gay wedding cake when they don't want to. That it doesn't work that way. If YouTube possesses the right to discriminate, then so does mom and pop, or not even mom and pop bakery. Say if some big bakery, some chain bakery, didn't want to bake gay cakes, then that would be their right as well. And you can't get mad at that. And this kind of crosses on to something I want to talk about in another video of intersectionality, which I've just been recently kind of looking up on and reading about and hearing about. I mean, I've heard about it for a while, but I didn't pay attention to it. But that's neither here nor there. Let's get back to so the idea of government is not to disseminate information. The idea of government is to protect the citizens' rights and freedoms to that information. And also, I would guess to some extent, to make sure that a company like Google doesn't have supreme monopolies, right? I guess the government has some level of protection in there. I'm not so big on regulation, government regulation. I think, if anything, regulation should be more state-wide, local and state regulations, more so than national regulations. On national regulation, like you can say you're not allowed to poison your neighbor, or you're not allowed to pollute your neighbor's property. But like to have, I don't know, just national regulation on business, every state is different. These should be local issues more so than federal. The federal's government, their biggest job is to protect the nation, protect the borders from invaders, whether it's militarily or illegal immigration, migration, invasion. The government's job is to protect the borders, and within the borders, the government's job is to protect the citizens' rights, the rights of the citizens, rights to freedom, free speech, freedom of information, equality, safety from borders outside and also from violence on the inside. But then you also have local law for that as well, police, things like that. And the market's place is to offer the vehicle for civilians, for citizens, for entrepreneurs to create, to compete, not to choose who has access to information, who doesn't have access to information. That they're not, Google is not the law. They're not God. They don't get to choose who has access to information. Google and YouTube become too big, like the phones, like gas. You can't turn off Antifa's gas because you think that they're, well, Antifa is a different story because they cross a line. When you get into violence, you're crossing a line. You no longer are in the realm of free speech. Now you are in violence. Now you are a terrorist. You are a threat. If the alt-right started preemptively attacking people, they would be a threat. But they're not at this point. They're defending ideologies, they're defending whiteness, just like everybody else gets to defend who they are. But to preemptively shut them down because you disagree and you think that what they're preaching is violence, and then to come back with physical violence, that's a problem. That is not free speech. You cross a line. And then when companies like Google tend to lean towards agreeing with Antifa, not taking down their Twitter sites, their websites, but taking down the other side, this is a problem. Now, does government have a right to come in at this point and regulate this? This is where the issue comes into play. And it's a tricky one. You don't want to start giving government that right, because then every time they take an inch, they take more. And the same thing, the same way we're giving these SJWs, we give them an inch and they take more. They want more. We got to watch boundaries. That's why we have to protect freedom of speech, freedom of rights, our rights that we have inalienably, and as Americans. The government has to protect those rights. The market should want to protect those rights as well, because in the long run, it's the benefit of the society. People should want to protect that. We should want to protect our society for the long run, for our children, for our grandchildren, for our future. We should stop being nihilists, only thinking about, oh, my feelings are hurt now, so I want to cause ruckus. And we can't blame people of the past because they no longer exist. We have to deal with this on a level of today. Anyway, I got some ideas flown in my head from some videos I was watching. I just felt like getting them down on YouTube. I'm not going to edit this, mistakes and all, and I'm going to post it. Let me know what you think, if you agree, disagree, whatever you have to add. And like this video if you like it. Subscribe to my channel if you haven't done so yet. I don't do as many videos as I want right now. I have a job, I work, I'm tired after work because I work physical labor. And you know, if I see more subscribers, more people coming my way to motivate me a little more so to burn in both ends of the candle, I would love that. So subscribe to my channel, like my video, check out my older videos, leave comments, and that's it. I'm out of here.